A blessed day, everyone. We are the Bachelor of Elementary Education 2B, Group Number 1, and we are going to discuss about the planning for instruction. Planning is the ability of the teacher to visualize and forecast into the future of what, why, and how of teaching learning process. The purpose of instructional planning is to ensure that teachers are adequately prepared to meet the educational goals for all students. Importance of instructional planning. First, it provides for logical sequencing and pacing lesson. It means instructional planning gives a good order or sequence of the topic to be tackled. Next is economize cost, time, and energy. It means it saves time and we can finish our lesson at a given time and a good manner. Next, it provides for a variety of instructional objectives. It means it provides a clear and brief goal to our lesson. I am Joanna Catherine S. Binibini.
I am Trisha A. Almido, B. Ed 2B, Group 1. Next, it creates the opportunity for higher level of questioning. The good thing about instructional planning is it creates the opportunity for higher level of questioning for the students. It will encourage students to practice their critical thinking. Through the use of different types of questions, the students would be able to develop their cognitive aspect that would lead them to enhance their higher level of thinking skills. Instructional planning also serves as a guide for teacher because it helps us to plan correctly and to prepare an exact lesson. It helps also to determine what the students will learn and how the lesson will be taught as well. Next is provides direction for the teachers. Well, in instructional planning, it includes not only planning what the students will learn, but also it gives direction to the teachers to what they were going to prepare from the next lesson after they accomplish the past lesson. Next is correlates instructional events. So in instructional planning, it correlates instructional events, which helps the teachers to develop strategies and create activities for instructional classes. Also, these instructional events will support the learning process of a student. Next is it develops a sequence of well-organizing learning experience. So this sequence enables students to have a deep understanding of the content that has been taught. It is important also to see if the students have truly learned the skills or the attitudes that they must meet. Next is it presents a comprehensive, integrated, and level meaningful content at an appropriate level. For this could be helpful for both teachers and learners because in part of teachers, they will make a learning in a meaningful way where they can use some meaningful activities that can be connected into real life and so that the students can be able to connect also new learnings from their previous experience, and by that the students would be able to develop a lifelong skills.
Advantages of lesson planning. It inspires the teacher to improve the further lessons. It helps the teacher in evaluating his teaching. It develops self-confidence in teacher. Proper care is taken into consideration, the level and previous knowledge of the students. The teaching matter is organized in time frame. It inspires the teacher to ask proper and important questions. It provides guidance to the teacher as what and whom he should teach. It helps in creating the interest of students towards the lesson.
I am Milagros E. Arellano, B. Ed 2B, Group 1. Another advantages of lesson plan. First, it stimulates the teacher to think in an organized manner. It means that by the help of having lesson plan, it boosts the teacher's confidence by making sure that the discussion is well organized. It helps the teacher to understand the objectives properly. Lesson planning is a one way to determine every objectives of the topic. It is the teacher's reference at the end of the lesson. If there is an advantages, There are also limitations in lesson plan. First, in new or odd situations, teacher feels himself helpless. Sometimes, teacher feel ashamed and think himself that he only rely on the lesson plan. Second, sometimes simple matters become complicated. Yes, because sometimes organized things being forgotten. And the third one, more time is required to plan a lesson. Making a lesson plan is not an easy task. That's why it requires time management.
Good day, everyone. My name is Richard Caburnay from BE Ed 2B. I am here to tackle about the limitations of lesson planning. First is teacher cannot teach independently. Yes, teaching students independent is a vital task for all teachers, but especially for teachers have split grades. It is also one of the largest barriers that prevents from using inquiry. But almost students are capable of working independently because their works needs to pass. This is why teach students explicitly how to work independently and let them experience failure and coach them through this failure. Number 2, there is a lack of flexibility in lesson planning. Things don't always go according to the plan. Teachers know this better than most. It's difficult to follow an agenda when dealing with different students' personalities and abilities. While you may intend to stick to your lesson plan, the painful reality is that most days won't follow the plan. That's why it is important to be able to adjust lesson plan. To lessen the lack of flexibility, let us customize lesson to meet individual and students' needs. Because flexibility lets you turn your attentions to the students who need it most. The last one, number 3, is the teaching process becomes more difficult. Yes, it's true. Being a teacher has never been easy, but changes in legislations have made it harder than ever for public school teachers or even private. Teachers have a wonderful opportunity to shape the minds of the next generations. Yes, it's true because being a teacher isn't always easy, especially in a public school teachers, because there is a great deal of satisfactions that comes from making an impact on a child's life. Teachers has always faced challenges, but it is always getting more and more difficult for teachers to do their jobs well. For example, in a classroom, teacher has a poorly behaved student and also difficult appearance. It's also a challenges for teachers. But of course, not only have to deal with poorly behaved students, but because as a teacher, you are forced to dedicate extra time to those students may be neglected.
Good day, I am Maria Del Mar Sibungansisa from BE Ed 2B, Group 1.
Best practices in planning for instructions.
Establish a positive learning environment to establish trust that leads to true participation and engagement. In the learning, you first need to set the stage by establishing the learning environment in which us all feel valued, safe, and support. Begin a lesson by giving clear instruction. Keep the instruction short. Repeat them at least twice and giving them examples and demonstration. Maintain student attention by planning a range of activity. To keep them engaged, one way is also giving them more responsibility by asking them questions about what you do, about what you have discussed. Use a piece that is appropriate for you and your student. Make sure that your lessons are carefully planned and take time to check on your student from time to time.
Hello everyone, I am Laika Mikarta from Group 1 BE 2B. And here are some practices. Evaluate what has taken place in your lesson. In evaluating your lesson, you must have clear learning objective. For example, are the learning objectives appropriately challenging and do they align with the curriculum or standards? Are learning objectives able to cover meaningful content, skills, and or disposition? Will students be able to answer the questions of this is importance because and you have to build also a prior knowledge on your lesson. And for the next practice, make a smooth transition into next subject. For example, in making a smooth transition into next subject, you have to make an explicit connection between ideas, sentences, or paragraph. And you have to try avoid using pronouns like this to refer to an entire idea because it is not always clear who or what this refers to. Using a word and in addition to, furthermore, moreover, besides. Next practice is develop positive teacher-student relationship. As a future educator, a positive relationship with a student is close and supportive but not overly dependent. They help students with schoolworks, manage the classroom well, and perhaps most importantly, they play fun activities. And for the last practice, provide suitable seat work. Seat work should be diagnostic and prospective. Develop procedures for seeking assistance, have a help signals, and also develop procedures for what to do when finished, and move around to monitor seat works. Vary methods of practice.